This is TWiT.
So those were the the 10-point, the new Mac iPad Pro. I was very excited about. I did not get to, as I said, watch the keynote. I was just like reading with poor internet bits and pieces. Got excited about that. Ordered that right away with the new keyboard. Got pretty excited about High Sierra. We were, saying, what are they going to call it? But High Sierra makes sense. This is like Snow Leopard,
fully baked
Mountain Lion. It's, and that's going to come out in the fall, right? With iOS 11.
Yes.
And then I got to the iMac Pro, and I went, "What the what?" But again, I'm just reading like headlines. So the headline for me is, okay, well, we still haven't got a Mac Pro replacement. That's a year out or whatever. That's next year. But we thought you would like this, pros, an iMac that has no limits. It has the latest Intel processors that go up to
Xeon.
18 cores. Do they call it Xeons or?
Yeah, they're Xeon.
Okay, because Intel had some weird X name.
Core i9, yeah.
Yeah. It's the i9. It's okay. Turbo Boost, okay, 42 megs cache. That's all Intel, and there'll be a lot of PCs. There'll be a lot of PCs with these.
Yeah.
But that's workstation or server category processors. What else? Why else am I paying starting at $5,000 on this thing?
Huge RAM, huge amount of RAM you can put in it, a huge amount of SSD, and it's still the
5K Retina, right?
Yeah, it's the new 5K Retina panel, which is very, very similar. It's a slightly different panel, and it does 10 bits to the T-Con, which then dithers them so you get billions of colors on the panel.
So but that's a very nice. I like my 5K iMac.
It's for people who want that panel but also want a workstation, basically.
And you can get 128 gigs. Yeah, but unlike a workstation, you can't open it up and put something else in, right?
No, it's just you're buying this and using it for whatever number of years.
The Vega, but are you with the Vega? I mean, this is Radeon Vega. I don't know anything about the Radeon Vega Pro 56 graphics processing unit, but
that's great if you don't want CUDA cores.
I'm guessing it's not going to be something that Alex Lindsay's going to be jumping up and down over.
Oh, you never know. Realize that GPU is not just for graphics professionals. It's also for like AI professionals and people who just need abstract, arbitrary, experimental fastness. So
I'm looking at. Okay, $5,000. I don't see. So mostly it's that processor and the chance to go to 128 gigs of memory, which no one needs, but maybe that you need it because you're designing rocket ships or something.
You got Core ML now, Leo. You'll be building out the future.
I think if you're working on, if you're working on Apple stuff, of course, but I mean, most people, if you're using TensorFlow or whatever, you're not going to buy an iMac Pro. Did they mention the Mac Pro at all?
It was sort of mentioned before the show that they weren't going to be discussing the Mac Pro at WWDC. That's a next year story.
Okay.
And that'll be the modular computer that for people who really want to be able to change things and mess around with things, they'll have that option.
Yeah.
So hard for me to. And the iMac Pro won't be available till December.
Does that mean if they ship 5, they have to ship 5 by December 31st? I think is my understanding.
This reminds me a lot of the Mac Pro announcement, the trash can Mac. Because they did pre-announce that way ahead of time.
Nothing about Phil's ass, but yes, it was.
Yes,
yeah. But that was one of the most fun parts of the entire keynote because it's like they went to a lot of trouble to really make sure that in the cutaway view, and look how big the fans are. Look what the airflow of active fan-propelled coolness is like through this thing, as if to say, yes, we realized that passive airflow was not a good idea. We were indeed right about that. Don't worry about it. This one has electrically powered spinning propellers that will push air forcibly through this machine. Just dust around your desk.
Will it hover?
While, please.
Will it hover? That's my question.
Is there? So, have you guys assessed that there is a market for this particular?
There were a lot of people at DubDub who were like, you weren't allowed to touch it. You could only look at it, and they had very serious-looking gentlemen on either side of it to ensure that. But it had a lot of interest, mostly from people who have been using iMacs in lieu of Mac Pros and who just seriously do want an all-in-one, but just want it more powerful. Apple's mentioned that their mix for these Pro machines isn't high. That people buy mostly MacBooks by a huge margin. Right. But of the people who is that that small percentage who want Pro machines, there is part of that market who wants the all-in-one.
It's really tricky to make a pro level desktop machine because once the more expensive it gets, the more powerful it gets. Now you're talking about specific uses that are completely unique to each purchaser. And so in the time since it was announced, I've talked to a lot of people who don't bat an eye at spending $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, even $10,000 on a desktop machine. But they're like, I'm buying an $8,000 machine because this has to suit me perfectly. And I've heard from a great many people that are not terrible. They're still waiting for the desktop Mac Pro because their reaction is, so what? I didn't ask for a really super powerful iMac. I need a desktop machine so I can open up and put things in and take them out, so that in 2 years' time, I'm not trying to sell this to buy the new piece of hardware that actually has the thing I want in it. I want to be able to have this on my desktop for 3 or 4 years, and when one business or one client or one contract requires me to have this thing upgraded for a certain task, I can do that. So by all means, this is anything with a Pro label on it. It's a hard thing to design. It's especially hard if you are only going to be designing one example of these things. Apple's designing 2 Pro Mac desktops, so hopefully whoever is not terribly excited about the iMac Pro is going to be really excited about what Apple shows them next year.